Every morning, millions of middle-class people wake up and work hard for their future, fueled by the hope that their dedication will eventually lead to a life of abundance and peace. This is the collective dream of the modern worker: to grind, to climb, and to eventually arrive at a destination of comfort. Yet, despite decades of relentless effort, late nights in the office, and the sacrifice of personal time, many find that they never achieve the elusive dream of true financial freedom. They look at their bank accounts and realize that their hard work has merely maintained their position rather than elevating them to a place of security. From the very moment we are children, we are conditioned into a specific, rigid framework: study hard, get good grades, secure a stable corporate job, and climb the professional ladder rung by rung. We are taught that hard work equals success, a narrative that feels intuitive but often fails in practice. The fundamental flaw in this traditional upbringing is that the system teaches us how to trade our labor for a paycheck, but fails to teach us the mechanics of how to make money work for us instead of us working for money. We become experts in production, but remain novices in the field of financial architecture. The psychological trap begins the very moment our income starts growing. Instead of redirecting that surplus into wealth building, our spending habits almost always accelerate to match the new salary level. We mistake a rise in income for a permission slip to raise our standard of living immediately. We see this pattern everywhere in society. A modest salary increase quickly leads to the purchase of a flashier, newer car, often financed through debt, intended to signal status to peers rather than build genuine net worth. It is a performance of wealth that actually hollows out our financial foundations. Then comes the social pressure of acquiring a larger, more expensive house, often secured with a mortgage that stretches the monthly budget to its absolute breaking point, effectively chaining the individual to their job. This, meant to be a trophy of success, becomes a prison of obligation. These lifestyle upgrades are constantly marketed to us as well-deserved rewards for our hard work, but in reality, they transform into rigid financial obligations that strip away our ability to take risks or pivot our careers. We become too expensive to quit, too leveraged to pivot, and too busy to plan. Financial experts and economists call this phenomenon lifestyle inflation, and it acts as the silent, invisible killer of wealth creation for the vast majority of the hardworking middle class. It is the reason why a person making a significant salary can still find themselves living paycheck to paycheck. Because of this insidious cycle, it quietly keeps millions of people stuck in the exact same economic position for decades, never truly able to afford even a single month off from their primary employment without risking catastrophe. The margin for error in their lives is essentially zero. The core issue is that the vast majority of people operate on a linear financial model, where their income is tied directly to the finite hours they spend performing a service, which inherently has a hard income ceiling. You can only work so many hours in a week, and your hourly rate is limited by market demand. When that physical or mental labor stops, due to illness, burnout, or economic downturn, the income stream stops instantly, leaving the individual and their family completely exposed and vulnerable to any unexpected life event. This is the danger of relying on active income as your sole resource. This is precisely why a single, sudden emergency, such as an expensive medical bill, a major vehicle repair, or an unexpected layoff, can create enough financial stress to derail years of careful saving and progress. It exposes the fragility of a system built on linear growth. In stark contrast, those who successfully transition to the realm of the wealthy approach money with a completely different, inverted mindset, prioritizing the creation of systems over the pursuit of immediate gratification. They don't just want more money, they want a system that generates it. They focus obsessively on acquiring assets that generate passive income, viewing every single dollar they earn as a soldier that should be out in the economic field working to bring back more resources. Every dollar is a recruit, and they do not allow their soldiers to sit idle. True assets are not just things you own, they are vehicles, like real estate, business equity, or dividend-paying stocks, that continue producing cash flow consistently, regardless of whether you are actively sitting at a desk. These are the engines of wealth, and they run 24 hours a day. The ultimate goal for these individuals is to reach a critical point where their accumulated money is earning enough income while they sleep to cover their expenses, effectively breaking the permanent link between their time and their money. This is the definition of true independence. Conversely, many middle-class families prioritize spending their hard-earned money on consumer goods that lose significant value the very moment they leave the retail store or the dealership. They buy things that depreciate, confusing the act of spending with the act of investing. Some purchases, such as luxury high-end vehicles or the latest unnecessary electronic gadgets, not only cost a significant amount upfront but continue to siphon money away through maintenance, insurance, and interest fees. These aren't just one-time costs, they are persistent financial drains. These items are classified as liabilities, not assets, and they act as a hidden, persistent drain on your potential wealth every single month, keeping you in a state of middle-class poverty despite a good income. They are the anchors that hold you in place while others sail forward. The wealthy, by contrast, force themselves to focus on the difficult, often boring task of acquiring income-producing assets first, frequently delaying their own personal gratification for years or even decades to ensure long-term stability. They understand that patience is the ultimate investment multiplier. Their primary strategic objective is to create multiple, highly diversified streams of income so that no single market failure, job loss, or business challenge can collapse their entire financial structure. They build a fortress of redundancy, ensuring that one weak wall doesn't ruin the whole house. Think of your personal finances as two separate buckets. One side consistently takes money out for living costs and social appearances, while the other side is strategically designed to pump money back into your life. The goal is to make the second bucket significantly larger than the first. Another major, often fundamentally misunderstood difference is how the wealthy utilize the power of debt compared to how the middle class handles it. It is not that they avoid debt, it is that they use it as an surgical instrument rather than a blunt weapon. Most people borrow money for the sole purpose of consumption, buying clothes, expensive vacations, or outdated technology, which creates long-term financial pressure without any hope of a return on investment. This is debt that consumes your future to pay for your past. Those consumer-driven purchases usually carry high interest rates, essentially turning your future labor into payments for past experiences that no longer provide any value or happiness. It is a cycle of paying for yesterday's joy with tomorrow's potential. Wealthy individuals, however, treat debt as a high-stakes tool. They use it strategically to acquire assets that have the potential to produce cash flow that far outweighs the cost of the interest on that debt. They leverage their borrowing power to amplify their growth. By carefully acquiring income-generating real estate, business equity, or scalable investments, they ensure that the asset itself is capable of paying off the debt service without the owner needing to use their personal salary. The debt pays for itself, and then some. In this sophisticated scenario, the asset pays for the debt and then provides a net profit, essentially allowing you to use other people's money to fund your long-term growth and expansion. This is how empires are built, by leveraging external capital for internal gain. Furthermore, many middle-class families rely far too heavily on simply saving money in low-interest bank accounts, operating under the outdated belief that this is the safest route to a secure future. They prioritize the safety of the principal over the growth of the value. But inflation is the silent, constant thief that erodes your wealth. It slowly reduces the actual purchasing power of those hard-earned savings, meaning your money is effectively losing value every single day it sits idle. You are essentially losing money by being too cautious. The cost of living, from the price of groceries to energy and housing, keeps moving consistently higher, and merely holding cash in a standard savings account is a losing strategy in a modern economy. If your growth does not beat inflation, you are technically shrinking. Successful investors, however, focus on growing their capital through vehicles that have historically outperformed the rate of inflation, putting their money into productive markets that grow alongside the economy. They align themselves with the engine of growth. They aggressively leverage the mathematical power of compound interest, which allows even small, consistent contributions to snowball into life-changing amounts of wealth over a long period of time. Time is the most potent catalyst in the equation of compounding. What starts as a small, disciplined amount of money invested today can transform into significant, multi-generational wealth if you simply have the patience to let time and compounding work in your favor. It is not about the starting amount, it is about the duration of the commitment. Beyond just looking at the numbers, the truly wealthy invest heavily in their own personal and financial education, treating their minds as their single greatest and most reliable asset. They know that the return on investment for knowledge far exceeds any other asset class. They continuously seek out new skills, deep market knowledge, and complex investment strategies that drastically improve their ability to make high-quality financial decisions under pressure. They are students of the game, and they never graduate. In an ever-changing global economy, this deep, specialized knowledge often becomes a much more powerful, resilient, and portable asset than any physical object you could ever hope to own. Knowledge allows you to recreate your wealth, even if you lose your physical assets. The biggest financial results are rarely found in a get-rich-quick scheme, but are instead the quiet result of disciplined, long-term habits maintained consistently over the course of many years. The path to wealth is long, quiet, and profoundly unglamorous. Those small, seemingly insignificant financial decisions you make every single day, what you buy, how you invest, and how you save, accumulate to create entirely different futures for you and your family. Your life is the sum total of your financial choices. One path leads to a life of constant financial pressure, where every month feels like a frantic, unending race to pay off the bills you accumulated in the past just to survive. It is a treadmill of stress that never seems to slow down. The other path, built on the solid foundation of asset acquisition, strategic debt, and smart, long-term investing, leads toward the true freedom of being able to choose how you spend your life. It is the path of options, autonomy, and genuine peace of mind. Real wealth is almost always built slowly and methodically, through the boring, consistent actions that most people are simply too impatient or distracted to follow. It requires the discipline to ignore the shiny, immediate rewards in favor of the distant, substantial gains. The key to your success is consistently building your asset column, reducing your reliance on consumer debt, and investing your surplus wisely, regardless of how much pressure society puts on you to spend. You must be the architect of your own economy, not a follower of trends. Ultimately, the biggest, most important difference between the middle class and the wealthy isn't just how much they earn, it is how they think, behave, and use the money they earn to secure their lasting freedom. Shift your mindset, change your actions, and you will eventually change your destination.